Welcome one and all to another day, another week here at the Damage Report with me, Iadarola, and much more importantly, the mama herself, Francesca Fiorentini. How's it going?
Hi, it's good, it's going. It's sort of the dog days of summer, right? Are people even here?
I hope so.
Are they summering?
Anybody?
I hope you're somewhere beautiful.
Yeah, somewhere beautiful or somewhere not beautiful, but ignoring all of that and watching the screen that our faces are on.
No, here's what you do. You do what I do, which is you go on your vacation, but you still watch your shows and and stay tethered.
Yes, you should. You should stay tethered to this. You should stay tethered to the Bituation Room coming up tomorrow. Can we get a little tease of who's gonna be appearing with you?
Comedian Hari Kondabolu is gonna be there. So he's wonderful. I'm super excited to have him. Also Paris Marks, who does the podcast Tech Won't Save Us, is gonna talk to us all about AI right in the middle of this actors strike, or in the beginning of this actors strike. Who knows what the middle will be of the actors strike.
Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be great. So 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern tomorrow at Franny Fio on YouTube, y'all.
Sounds fun. I refuse to believe also that tech won't save us. I'm pretty sure Elon Musk is basically Tony Stark. I've heard that.
He's proven
on
that.
a magazine cover. And
except
I
only
think he's doing a pretty good job with Twitter.
Yeah, only if the armor that Iron Man wears asphyxiates him. That's how he is like Tony Stark. It's like all the technology, but it kills himself.
Or the armor is like an ablative layer of the weirdest nerds on the internet who want to take every shot for him.
That's right. That's even better.
It could be that.
They're all holding hands.
Yes, I'm very glad to be here. I'm very glad that all of you are here. I see people in the chat. You can't hide from me. So thank you for being here. What I have for you today is a haircut that definitely needs to be redone. I've reached that point I discovered this morning, but more importantly, I've got news, some interesting stuff. There's a big Turning Point USA meetup with some good news for Donald Trump, maybe bad news for the other candidates, maybe bad news for Ukraine. We'll be talking about that. And we have a couple of awesome ads that we have to play. One on sort of like reproductive autonomy that is just amazing. We've got Pramila Jayapal facing some pressure for calling Israel racist. She's now mid backpedal. We'll be talking about that. And some of the stakes in the 2024 presidential race. We're being reminded of how real those stakes are. We're gonna talk about it. Coming up in the aftermath though, you definitely have to stick around. And if you're listening on the podcast or something like that, go check the YouTube page because you can find this extra content there. Sawyer Hackett of the Lose Cruz PAC is gonna be joining us. They are trying to take out Senator Ted Cruz. And there are a few things I want more for 2024 than for Ted Cruz to lose. So that's an important one. And we'll also be doing a little bit of an update on those Bored Apes. Remember the Bored Apes? The best investment ever that you dummies without the foresight or the 100 grand necessary to buy one, we're gonna lose out on. Well, we're gonna catch up on exactly what state the Bored Apes are in and figure out how good of an investment it actually was. So that's gonna be fun and we're gonna end the show with it. Along the way though, please hit the like button, share the stream so people know we're live, they can join us. And if you wanna send us any comments, tweets, or super chats, we'll respond as we go. I believe actually we can do Blue Apron rewards again. Ooh. So if you've been sitting on any awesome comments, send them in and we'll be giving away a Blue Apron gift card for $100. With all that said, Francesca, you ready to do this thing? Okay, well with that, we're gonna start it up. Turning Point USA is having their big meetup of only the weirdest creeps in the country, and head creep perhaps today, Majorie Greene, who wants to really stick it to Joe Biden. And I'm not sure that's really what she's doing. Take a look at this.
Lyndon B. Johnson is very similar to Joe Biden. How are they the same? They're both Democrat socialist. Lyndon B. Johnson was the majority leader in the Senate. Does that sound familiar? He was vice president to Kennedy. Joe was vice president to Obama. He was appointed as the president after JFK was assassinated, then he was elected. His big socialist programs were the Great Society. The Great Society were big government programs to address education, medical care, urban problems, rural poverty, transportation, Medicare, Medicaid, food stamps, and welfare. the Office of Economic Opportunity, and big labor and labor unions.
Okay, so there's a couple of big problems there, as you're probably already able to tell. The more substantive one is when you say he's terrible, he wants to destroy the country, and then you just list all of the most awesome things that particularly conservatives in rural areas would love to have. We'll get to that in just a sec. I want to start off with, though, she apparently figured out what Wikipedia is, like for the first time. So she was just reading facts about LBJ.
Yeah.
And she was like, I think the idea was supposed to be, look at all of like the weird overlaps between them, okay? Which wouldn't prove anything except to a conspiracist. But what she decided to do was she listed the things that she thinks are overlaps, but are not. Like she said, he was the majority leader in the Senate. Does that remind you of anyone?
No.
Well, Chuck Schumer? What point are you making? Biden was never the majority leader of the Senate. He was in the Senate. So's Ted Cruz. What point are you making? And then she's like, LBJ was appointed after this. Yeah, but Biden won the election. That's not a similarity. I don't understand what point you're trying to make about Biden here. And then, of course, this is a substance. Where do you want to start, Francesca?
Well, I just love when right wingers forget to like red wash Wikipedia before they spout it. You know, like she should have just gone in there and crossed off like Medicare, Medicaid, and things that like the Republican base, just like all American people, are really, really into, and then just went to the unions. She was trying to stick the landing as if like, oh wait, this all sounds good. I mean, yeah, big labor, that's bad, right? Why not talk about like the civil rights movement? You know, that could have helped. And some of the signing in the Civil Rights Act, that would have probably been something that their base at Turning Points is against. But anyway, I don't know. We all learned something. That's good. They learned something.
Some facts. Yeah. Also, by the way, the few things that she did assert as actual similarities between them are not true. Like, you can't just say LBJ and Biden are both Democratic socialists. No, they're not. I kind of think you have to ask the Democratic socialists whether those two men deserve to be a part of that group, and neither of them are. They were both Democrats, I guess. Case proven. They're definitely lizards. I think that's what's going on. But she literally she was saying like Medicaid and like some sort of office of like rural issues. Like this is what people want. Now we're gonna go on to a little bit more of this in a sec, but I do also want to throw out the possibility that one of two things is happening here. It's very easy to just, and most people on Twitter, their reaction is, she's an absolute moron. And look, I get why you might jump to that. I do understand. It is possible that she is just so stupid that she doesn't realize what she's doing here and listing all these positive things. But that's not the only potential explanation. The other is that she is not stupid, she is savvy, and she understands better than we can that even that list of objectively good things is going to be read as a horror show by among the most unrepresentative bodies that can come together in America, which is a Turning Point USA audience. They really do believe none of this stuff should be done. Because after all, those programs that are so popular are popular amongst regular conservatives, regular Republicans. There are no regular anything in that auditorium.
Yeah, it's just a bunch of extreme. It's like sad fail sons, like that's all it is. Who like again, junior college dropouts, like Charlie Kirk himself. Like who is in that actual audience? You're exactly right. Again, this is back to the like, oh, MAGA really speaks to the working people. No, they don't. They speak to again boat dads and their fail sons.
Yeah, real working Americans are keeling over in Texas because their water breaks were taken away. Those are real working Americans. They're not being represented by the Republicans. That much should be clear. Well, that said, let's see if she can recover in the second half of her little spiel. Let's go to that.
LBJ had the Great Society, but Joe Biden had Build Back Better, and he still is working on it. The largest public investment in social infrastructure and environmental programs that is actually finishing what FDR started, that LBJ expanded on, and Joe Biden is attempting to complete. Socialism.
I wish I could believe any of that. Yes, please, upon a star style, I want to believe that he is actually FDR 2.0, that he is actually like, look, I think that the standards have been set so low by some past Democratic presidents. Clinton, Obama had the ACA, but no massive, broad social spending program aside from that. Maybe Biden, just by virtue of like not a lot of competition, is the next step of the Great Society and FDR's programs and all that, the New Deal. Maybe he is, but she is giving him, I think, at least a good chunk more credit than he deserves. I think that she seems to really buy into the propaganda coming from some of like the most like bought in Biden people. I don't know, does that scare people, Francesca? Like, are they gonna hear what she just said and think that's the thing that needs to be stopped?
I feel like she's just like switched teams in this speech and is basically like, I wish Biden could speak like this, like, hey, LBJ, the Great Society, and I have Build Back Better. I'm gonna keep fighting for it. What's so funny about that, also to use it to scaremonger like the Republicans, is that Majorie Greene and Republicans already killed Build Back Better, along with some Democrats. Let's be real, they just killed it. It's no longer a so-called threat to our, lifting our quality of life. It's dead. He doesn't talk about it anymore. Lyndon B. Johnson successfully implemented the Great Society. I mean, and then there's the American Rescue Plan, which Biden actually was able to implement, by the way, with zero help from Republicans. So I don't know, I'm curious if she continues it and continues to then be like, and we didn't vote for any aid to Americans in the time of global crisis because the pandemic isn't real, except for your uncle's no longer here. Like, I'm just, I don't know, like my brain, but I do kind of feel like people in the audience are like, hey, that sounds kind of good. So
maybe, look, they have online brain worse than anyone in the world in all of the worst ways. I get that, like, it is very difficult to not exist in one or more bubbles in the modern era. That's sort of the way things push you. That's the pressure that's put on you. And I am sure that us here, you watching, are in some bubbles. But I mean, their bubble is absolute madness. Like, I'm not gonna both sides the bubbles. Some bubbles are worse than other bubbles, and I think you're seeing some insanity there.
But these are the most popular programs ever, like Medicare and Medicaid. You talk to any Republican, you're like, do you like Joe Biden? They're like, no. Do you like Medicare and Medicaid? Yes. Did you know Republicans consistently try to gut it and like do away with it, privatize it and whatnot? Oh,
yeah.
That's it. That's the conversation.
And if that was the conversation, they would lose every election, which at the presidential level they basically do. So they don't talk about that. They talk about whether the candy mascot's effable. I mean, that's why we have the conversations we do as a country. Now that said, I do want to talk about a topic of quite a bit of substance. It's one of the most important foreign policy topics right now. The topic of Ukraine was something that they returned to quite often at the Turning Points USA little meetup. And they actually polled their audience about whether they support aid to Ukraine. And Charlie Kirk was very happy to say that the results were 95.8% said no. When will politicians learn that you can't tell voters what to believe? Well, first of all, if you actually believe that the audience at a Turning Point USA meetup is representative of anything, you're even dumber than you appear on your podcast, Charlie Kirk. But I don't believe that you actually think that. And I also don't believe that you even mean what you're saying in the second half of that sentence. When will politicians learn that you can't tell voters what to believe? I mean, you guys are desperately trying to propagandize to and manipulate your voters, and to some extent it actually works. I mean, not 96% of Republicans are opposed to the aid, it's nowhere near that, but more are opposed than there would have been if you hadn't been lying to them about Nazis and Zelensky and all that for the last year. In any event, this position that the most radical right-wingers have on Ukraine is perhaps convenient to Donald Trump, who has, he's been saying for a long time that this war shouldn't happen, that he could just end it anytime he wants. And speaking with Maria Bartiromo this weekend, he actually returned to that.
Putin, like Ukraine, a lot, was the apple of his eye. But he never made a move with me because he knew he couldn't do it.
You said you could end the war in Ukraine in 24 hours.
Yes, I could.
How would you do that?
I know Zelensky very well. I felt he was very honorable because when they asked him about the perfect phone call that I made, he said it was indeed perfect. He said it was, he didn't even know what they were talking about. He could have grandstanded, oh, I felt threatened.
Well, that's not going to be enough for Putin to stop bombing Ukraine.
No, I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that I know Zelensky very well and I know Putin very well, even better. And I had a good relationship, very good with both of them. I would tell Zelensky, no more, you got to make a deal. I would tell Putin, if you don't make a deal, we're going to give them a lot. We're going to give them more than they ever got if we have to. I will have the deal done in one day. One day.
You know, I like to project false bravado and confidence as much as any red-blooded American man. But I have to admit that I was apparently wrong. I've been really dismissive of his I can end the war in one day thing for a long time. And I didn't realize that he was going to go to Zelensky and say, no more. You have to make a deal. That's a game changer. And then he'll say to Putin, if you don't get out of here, we'll give them more aid, a position that he is against and that 96% of his most rabid supporters don't believe we should do. So his plan is to do exactly what we've been doing. Wait, and that's it. That's actually exactly what we've been doing.
Yeah, we'll give you more.
Make a deal and supporting Ukraine. What exactly would be different under Trump? More fawning comments about Putin, I suppose, and what the apple of his eye is. But what do you think?
The apple of his eye. That's why he's invading the country, because he loves it so much. Sometimes when you love something, you just have to bomb it to smithereens and just, raise entire villages. That's love, truly. And he loves it. He's doing his love. I mean, it's just incredible. Like, I'm gonna go to Putin, and if he doesn't, I'll give it to him even more. Like, ooh, buddy. But also, what is that? What are you gonna, so boots on the ground, American troops now on the ground? No, of course that's not what he means. We know what he would do. He would completely roll over. The idea is Putin, it would be over because we'd stop assisting Ukraine in their defense of their own sovereignty. That's how it would end. And the Zelensky thing is amazing because nobody was remembering the perfect phone call or the time that he got impeached the first time. Remember, this is a twice impeached president. Okay, first time in history, I believe. I don't know, what is history anymore? It's happened, Trump is it. He's just, breaking, he's really big. He's really breaking the glass ceiling for a-holes in office. And so the first guy to ever break the glass ceiling and then just eat the shards of glass. I mean, you gotta hand it to him. But he's bringing up the crimes that nobody was thinking about. Maria's like, okay, what? He's like, it was the perfect phone call. Anyway, by the way, he didn't feel threatened. He didn't feel threatened, John, so it's not a crime.
Exactly, yeah. If Zelensky doesn't make, an international thing out of it, then it's not a crime. Yeah, and Maria Bartiromo actually kind of pushed back on that, which I thought was, I don't know that would have happened like 3 years ago.
What?
That the fact that he was willing to do that. But anyway, things still good for Donald Trump. Very briefly before we move on, I do want to acknowledge that in the Turning Point straw poll, Trump got 85.7% of the vote, capital V vote. He's very happy about that. It's a poll of weirdos, man. It's not the presidential election. Just to be clear, still good news for him. I can and will mock him, but it is still good news for him. Interestingly, Ron DeSantis got 4.3%. Vivek Ramaswamy got 2%. Chris Christie and others got 0%. Actually, the funniest thing out of all of that isn't what's in the bleat, it's what's not in the bleat. Perry Johnson, a Michigan businessman, got second with 8%, and Trump left him out. Now, maybe it's because he forgot that Perry Johnson existed. I buy that because prior to today, I didn't know that Perry Johnson existed. I don't think I've ever heard of him before, but he is actually at 8%. He's got twice what Ron DeSantis has.
Perry Johnson is a 16-year-old MAGA hype beast whose mom dropped him off at Turning Point USA conference, who's just decked out in all red, like he's wearing Adidas, but it's like, MAGA.
Yeah.
That is Perry Johnson.
The only other thing out of this that I want to mention in terms of the poll is that they did a VP straw poll, and 30% said that Carrie Lake should be the vice president, which, there's still a long way to go. Doesn't mean that she's gonna win, but she is the front runner. maybe that's why all of a sudden Marjorie Greene is talking like she wants to run with Joe Biden, because she thinks the other door has been closed. Anyway, with that said, I do think we need to move ahead to our Monday Menace. Apologize to the audience to do this to you. It is a lot of concentrated Marjorie Greene in like a 20-minute period, but it's just too good, and by that I mean too bad to not talk about. Here is what we all had to face this weekend.
The Democrats are a party of pedophiles.
They support grooming children. Even Joe Biden, the president himself, supports children being sexualized and having transgender surgeries. Sexualizing children is what pedophiles do to children.
MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. Democrats get back. Boom! Reporters even get slapped. They spreading all these rumors because Marjorie be spitting big facts.
Oh, the smile. Okay, I can't speak for anyone other than myself, but I would like to think that if you were to go back decades to the initial origins of rap as an art form and tell them that if you do what you're doing now, it will someday result in that video, I think that they would have made other music. I don't think that rap would exist. That was terrible, and we will have more for you in a moment.
You go to a cipher in the Bronx and like throw Marjorie Greene in there. It was just like, you need to pull up your pants. And they're like, no, we don't have to do this anymore. Why don't we stop? Yeah, let's play chess or something else. Cause if it's gonna lead to that, no. Oh my God, the smile is the best for sure. Like, I am in a rap music video, but I'm not a thug, unlike all y'all. Like, and she greased up her legs. Can we just understand that she put like, she greased up her leg and like, guys, look at her on that dumb like styrofoam gold throne, and remember, she makes $174,000 a year to do that, and they're gunning for a raise. And all she does, John, and we know this, is complain about how ungrateful the American people are, how she doesn't really want to be there, how it's a lot of work for her, and how everyone is corrupt and a pedophile.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, what is she capable of doing in any of these things that she does instead of her job? So she has a Rumble show, she has a podcast, she wants to be in rap videos. My God, does she not want to be a legislator? Don't ever say that this next generation just wants to be on TikTok or whatever, because you're doing the 45-year-old white woman version of being a kid who wants to be famous on TikTok.
Yep.
But anyway, what can she do? Well, she can sit in a chair, she can sit on a car. That's it. There's no rapping. There's no
she sit on the car?
She smiled once.
I don't want to sit her on the. I don't want to.
Oh no, she's gonna be on the car. Don't worry. Also, look, I'm not gonna try to convince you or the person who made this, whoever that rapper is, that this isn't good. I am fairly certain that they know that. I love that it is filmed entirely in one parking lot. I love that they do shots of him filming her, which I think the idea is supposed to be that he finds her so fascinating or beautiful that he's taking shots. But I think that he was actually one of the cameramen because it was so low budget. I think that's what was actually happening.
That makes sense.
Anyway, there is more, so let's go to a bit of that.
A real businesswoman, AOC's a featherweight, a Southern belle, a little hood, watch her shake and bake. Divorce, that's all y'all gotta bring up. Yeah, watch her drain the swamp, cause she know they corrupt. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. MTG, Megas MVP. She's a boss. She don't rock with trans Tifa cause they soft. Them liberal tears can't save you, wipe them off. You know we reppin' 45, he never lost.
Yeah, so trans Tifa is soft. You guys, years after the 2020 election, are still pretending that the guy you like won. I mean, if there's anything that's soft, it's being completely unwilling to face reality. Also, is Trump not MAGA's MVP? Is she elevating herself? She's the most valuable. So Trump is second most valuable. But I do want to take back. I said MVP. Ex-MVP, I suppose. I said that she didn't rap, which remains true, but she did lip sync someone saying MVP or MAGA? That was it. That was the entirety of what she was capable of doing in that. What do you think?
I mean, I think it's hard, because they clearly had to return those cars at 6 in the morning, and they got a deal for renting them between 10 and 6 a.m. His buddy knew this one dealership, and anyway, but they got to send him back, so they didn't have a lot of time. And they were like, Marjorie, can you do anything else with your face other than that like awful, like I'm sitting next to the Easter Bunny as a third grader smile? And she's like, no, what are you talking about? You know how you do like your ugly face when you're like mad and racist? And she's like, I don't, okay. Anyway, Majorie Greene video hoe. There we go. That's what she is. Marjorie Greene.
That they had to mention the divorce, saying that's all they got. I want to be very clear. I don't care that Majorie Greene got divorced. And if I want to criticize her, I've got a lot more than just that to criticize her over. Let's be clear about that. Also, the like transparent defensiveness of they have to call AOC a featherweight. Is AOC in the rep video? No, AOC is doing like committee hearings and stuff like that. AOC is talking about like methane emissions. AOC is doing her actual job. You're the one in the parking lot with the dude who really wants to be a rapper and probably never will be. I'm just saying, like, it was super defensive to have to bring her up.
She was actually there. You could just be like, no, I think it's probably beneath the office, but if you want to use my image and like intersplice it, like Ron DeSantis' very successful homophobic ad, go like have at it. But no, she was like, no, I got time. I've got time.
They just want to be famous.
I know.
Every criticism they make of AOC or the squad for like having a platform is just projection.
Putting on lipstick on Instagram.
Fame. Yeah,
God, if we could look at Majorie Greene's mouth without vomiting, like she would do the same. But she understands the effect she has on people.
Anyway, hopefully that'll be the last event. But anyway, that's all the time we have for this first segment. We're gonna take a break. When we come back, Ron DeSantis throwing some actual punches against Donald Trump and then handing Trump so much ammunition to use against him. We'll have that and more after this. By the way, do not actually forward your psychiatric bills to me. I can't.
I was just gonna say, I feel like he's gonna get some.
I could use some help. But anyway, with that said, those of you just joining us now, please hit the like button if you haven't already. We're gonna jump into more news, starting with this.
Chris Christie, who was on this program a couple of weeks ago, says he's the only one who goes directly at Trump, insult for insult, calling him a coward and so forth. And that the rest of you just dance around for fear of offending him or his supporters. Does he have a point?
I don't do insults, so that is true. I think just getting in this insult game turns voters off. It's not something I want to do. Substantively, we've been very frank at our differences with respect to the former president. I mean, for example, he promised to drain the swamp. It got worse. He did not drain the swamp. He promised to have Mexico pay for a border wall. They did like 50 miles of wall. There's massive expansive still there. He said he was going to eliminate the national debt. They added almost $8 trillion to the debt in 4 years. And of course, in 2020, he turned the country over to Dr. Fauci, and those lockdowns and the borrowing and printing really sent us on a bad course.
Okay, so look, the beginning of that is ridiculous with him saying, I don't do insults. First of all, you routinely insult people if you think you can get away with it. You're very scared of being punched in the face by Donald Trump. We all understand that, which is why you're not gonna be throwing out lines like that on the debate stage. But for now, he has some distance. And look, we said that with Chris Christie attacking Trump, it's showing a model for how you do this. And very directly right there, you saw now the pressure is on people like Ron DeSantis to do the same thing. Now, look, the stuff that he was saying is basically exactly what Chris Christie was saying. I feel like he might have been word for word repeating it, but it is good to see more of them willing to differentiate themselves from Donald Trump. Substantive critiques, most of them accurate when it comes to how much wall was actually built, the addition to the national debt. I'm glad that they're actually injecting a little bit of substance into a race that has been mostly just homophobic, awful attacks one after the other.
Yeah, but I guess I would just say that it's ridiculous that they're going to effectively an argument that says Donald Trump didn't do enough of Trump, which is basically like, oh yeah, we'll put him back and he'll finish the wall, put him back and he'll finish draining the swamp. It's just half draining and you can still glugging down, like you could see that being an argument when the reality is the substance is the reality that this is a twice impeached criminal sociopath who enriched himself and his family while in office and is still being prosecuted for ridiculous crimes that he committed knowingly over and over and over and over again. So like they're not touching any of that, which is bizarre to me because you really should. But again, that would enable them and their base to enter into reality and burst their little safe space of no, Trump is God, but maybe he not God enough. We need other God.
Yeah, maybe. So that's good, I guess, that he's attacking him. I'm gonna get to the ammunition that he's handing over to Trump in just a moment. I did want to update you on what is being presented as some bad financial news for Ron DeSantis. He's apparently burning through cash at a really fast rate. He raised $20 million according to the FEC, but he's already spent almost $8 million. And I honestly don't know on what. What has he been doing? He's not doing rallies. Like, how much does it cost to be interviewed by Maria Bartiromo or Janine Pirro?
It takes a lot of money though to pay like Gen Xers to pretend like they're Gen Zers, you know what I mean?
Good point.
With those like terrible meme ads.
100%, yeah. Maybe that homophobic ad costs more than we think. He apparently spent like $1.3 million on travel, I guess, flying to Iowa and New Hampshire to have them tell you to leave. They're already supporting Trump. I guess that is expensive.
God, airfares really have gone up.
I guess, yeah, it's pretty expensive. Yeah, how many people were you flying? Jesus. Did you take a spaceship? But also, all of this stuff is overpriced. It's all a grift. He's firing 10 of his staffers, apparently, which is considered to be bad news. Well, I don't know if it is, but he has 92 people on his payroll, and he's spending millions of dollars on them. It's been like a few months. It's less than 100 people. How are you spending millions of dollars? What are you paying these people for a couple months of work? How could that possibly cost millions of dollars? And yet that's what these consultants do. And so he's trying to switch up his campaign. He desperately needs to switch up his campaign. I don't know what new, pathetic, ineffectual form it will take, but they are trying to switch it. In the meantime, though, I do want to get to, he like has these positions that he's taken that he's not backing down from that line up more with sort of traditional establishment Republicans, but are going to be terrible from the point of view of a lot of Republican voters. And Trump is definitely gonna jump on. Here's a great example of that.
Let me get to a couple of issues. You've said that Republicans are not going to mess with Social Security, but as a congressman, you voiced support for privatizing Social Security and raising the retirement age to 70 for future seniors down the road. What made you change your mind?
Well, I've always said, promise made, promise kept. I'm a governor of Florida. Of course we're gonna protect people's Social Security. My grandmother passed away when she was 91. That was her sole source of income. And that's true for millions of seniors. And so that goes without saying. So when people say that we're gonna somehow cut seniors, so that is totally not true. Talking about making changes for people in their 30s or 40s so that the program's viable, that's a much different thing. And that's something that I think that there's gonna need to be discussions on.
Cutting senior citizens benefits. I would never do that. I would only cut millions of people who will someday be senior citizens benefits because I'm hoping that they will forget by then. And also they don't vote at as high rates, so screw them. If you're 20 or 30 or 40, screw you. You're too young to matter. But if you're like already 80 years old, I guess I'm not gonna do anything. That he may think that he threaded the needle right there. People hate that stuff. Do you know how little people want to be told, hey, how'd you like to work 3 more years before you can retire? Yeah, I don't want to work 3 more minutes before I retire, okay? I got a big backlog of games on Steam I'm waiting to get through. Like the clock is ticking and they want you to delay for years. Trump is already attacking him on wanting to cut Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, and he's definitely gonna do more of it. What do you think?
No, I think it's wild, and it's true. He is in Florida. There are a lot of retirees, but he's effectively saying, you'll be long gone before you see the destruction I've wrought. Vote for me. And honestly, like there's a certain selfish Republican mentality that's like, yeah, I won't be around, and so long as I am around, I want whatever tax breaks, and I don't want to see like drag shows, even though no one made me see a drag show ever. And if I did go to one, probably have a really good time, and it would kind of like change my identity, and make me sort of like a fan. But anyway, like it's incredible that he can get away with saying something like that. And it also is scary because, I'm reacting to the ways that people freaked out about student debt relief, right? And the way that people are like, I paid mine and blah, blah, blah. And yet when it comes to 30 and 40-year-olds, if they're gonna screw us for the future, like what about like, oh, you guys got retirement at 65, or what about us? You know what I mean? Like does it go both ways, or is this just a way for older folks who are able to buy homes and have been able to buy homes to like punch down at young people for buying too much avocado toast or whatever BS they're on now?
100%. Okay, I really wish that we could talk more about this. I find his campaign to be so fascinating and how blundering it is, but that will have to wait. Perhaps till tomorrow. Michael Shore is going to be joining us for the show. We're going to be talking about Florida's National Guard and how like overtly militarized it is. We'll be breaking that down and more. We're going to take our second break of the hour though. Come back. Pramila Jayapal in trouble for comments she made about Israel and much more. We'll be right back. Okay, so in that social break, we were talking about how my soon-to-be baby has, like, I don't know how many outfits you're supposed to have for a newborn. I feel like this kid has twice as much clothing as me and my wife combined.
Yeah.
How many outfits do you go through in a day?
There's a lot of blowouts, meaning a lot of poo-poo on the outfits, so you gotta change them. But there's only a few that you'll be like, oh, I need this, and then a bunch more like exactly this thing. And usually those things aren't particularly cute.
It fills up multiple like drawers, and each outfit is this big, so it's not like it takes up a lot of room. I just feel like it's way too much. You've been way too generous, and you need to stop being so nice.
I have more.
But I will say, some of the outfits that people gave us are so adorable that I already know I am going to be utterly unbearable on social media. Just prepare for the modeling sessions I'm gonna be having this kid do in little outfits with elephants and bumblebees and flamingos and stuff. There's one with lemons on it. Anyway, with that said, we do have important news to talk about. So I think we're gonna go into C and then D and see what happens. We'll go from there. But whenever we're ready, why don't we jump directly into this. Well, that's gonna start with me actually. Representative Pramila Jayapal, head obviously the Congressional Progressive Caucus, is having to backtrack after the backlash from her party over her comments over Israel. So she had said, I want you to know that we have been fighting to make it clear that Israel is a racist state, that the Palestinian people deserve self-determination and autonomy, that the dream of a two-state solution is slipping away from us. That is apparently what she actually believes. I think that she is reflecting the beliefs of a lot of people in the United States and abroad, and thus she must immediately backtrack, and she will. She got yelled at, so she now says, words do matter, and so it is important that I clarify my statement. I do not believe the idea of Israel as a nation is racist. She also added that she believes Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's extreme right-wing government has engaged in discriminatory and outright racist policies. I think that of backtracks, that's not the worst that it could be. Like, she is criticizing his specific government, which I think is always more productive than criticizing a country. A country is not a thing. A government is a thing. A leader is a thing. And she also said, I do not believe the idea of Israel as a nation is racist. She is not saying that the government doesn't do racist stuff, which obviously it does. So she is still backtracking. Bear in mind, she's getting tons of criticism, especially from Democrats. I guess it was gonna have to happen. And if she is gonna backtrack, I suppose we've seen people backtrack way too much in the past, like totally retreating from, I think, a totally fair position. And she hasn't 100% done that, but that said, what do you think about this, Francesca?
I mean, I think it's incredibly strong and very, very real and honest, right? Israel is a racist nation. It is a Jewish supremacist nation that actually, ironically, does not treat even the Jews who they give citizenship to equally. If you're Mizrahi or Sephardic, if you're a Jew of color, you do not get treated equally. If you're an immigrant who is also Jewish, you will be summarily deported. So there have been ways that, like, in terms of colorism, definitely racist. In terms of maybe if she's being more specific about xenophobia and religious bigotry and ethnic superiority, which you can shorthand as racism, yes, then yes, Israel is a racist nation. And I would argue, unlike her, that the idea of Israel, if it is to be a Jewish supremacist state, is racist. And we've seen how that has borne out based on the settler project of Palestinian land, right? And bulldozing and occupying and exterminating and displacing millions of Palestinians every single day. It doesn't have to be that way. What I would say is, and I think Pramila should have said, Israel doesn't have to be racist. Israel can be a real democracy. Israel can be a real multi-ethnic, multi-religious place. I don't know if I'm freezing on all y'all, but
a little bit, not too bad.
That it could be different if the government so chooses.
Yeah, and to be clear, sometimes people lapse into shorthand, and I'll allow you to clarify. I'm not speaking for you. It being a nation is not racist. The idea of having a government that has, that is thought of as the home for Jewish people internationally is not racist. And saying that the country, that the government is racist is not saying the people are racist. One of the big issues with the right-wing government of Israel is how unrepresentative it tends to be on many of these issues. It is about leaders, it is about governments, it's about policies. It is not about random citizens or besmirching millions of people or anything like that, at least for me. I can only speak for myself. I don't speak for Pramila Jayapal. She clearly can do that herself. And with that, I do think that we need to move into our next topic. We're gonna be starting off with an ad that is both serious and awesome at the same time. Let's take a look at this in the D block.
Do you have a condom?
Yeah. No! Sorry, you can't use those.
What are you talking about? Who are you?
I'm your Republican congressman. Now that we're in charge, we're banning birth control.
This is our decision, not yours. Get out of our bedroom.
I won the last election. I'm not going anywhere. I'm just gonna watch and make sure you don't do anything illegal.
That is chilling, I think. And it's chilling because it's real. I know that we're supposed to pretend that the right isn't actually pushing for this, but we report on it every day. Like more and more right-wing pundits are openly advocating for allowing birth control to be made outlawed, birth control pills, as well as condoms, specifically saying that condoms should not be legal. They're doing the job for us. We know more and more of their politicians are advocating for that. Clarence Thomas certainly seems interested. And so this is the sort of thing that when you go to the ballot box, you should be worried about. And in particular here, what they're talking about is the Ohio ballot board, the amendment for the state issue 1, basically allowing it to be more difficult to amend the Constitution. So it asks voters if Ohio should, quote, require that any proposed amendment to the Constitution of the state of Ohio receive the approval of at least 60% of eligible voters voting on the proposed amendment. Republicans have admitted that this effort is largely to stop abortion from becoming legal, and anti-abortion activists have begun to purchase TV spots for ads supporting passing issue 1. And this is, again, a reminder, as if we needed it, that they know that their positions are not popular. They know that they cannot win. They have no chance of persuading people. They've tried it for half a century. They have failed. So they are trying to lock in extremist positions that they themselves know are wildly unpopular. And so hopefully people in Ohio are paying attention to this and will vote accordingly.
That's so incredible. Like, again, it's not enough. Like, white male minority rule isn't enough. The fact that you've got all the money isn't enough. The fact that you've got the tax system rigged in your favor, and then you funnel the money that you saved on taxes back into the political process, that's not enough. You have to say, no backseas on our state constitution. Like, because that's how afraid of voters these legislatures are. It's incredible, the Republican legislatures, like the stuff that the lengths they'll go to. And even if states get things on the ballot, even if they pass them, we have seen time and again, whether it's about Medicaid, whether it's about abortion, whether it's about the right for former felons to vote, as in the state of Florida, we've seen state legislatures in red states completely undo the will of the people. So this is just like, we're gonna preempt undoing the will of the people because we're scared of you. And I think that ad is great. I mean, that is exactly what they're gunning for. We all know this is a slippery slope. Just like the any anti-trans legislation is not just about trans people. It is about all gay people. And they say it's not, but of course, that's not true.
Yeah, look, I would like to see versions of that ad run all over, like specifically pointing out the next steps in this radical originally anti-abortion, now just, I don't know, they're just going through old episodes of The Handmaid's Tale and looking for something to campaign on. That's basically what it is at this point. They want this level of control over your sex. Literally, are you allowed to put latex on your penis or not? Should not be up to you, it should be up to them. That is their actual position, and that is madness that needs to be pointed out. Okay, now we're gonna talk about the consequences of some of what they've already accomplished. When Roe v. Wade was destroyed by the conservative supermajority in the Supreme Court, we knew some of the damage that would be done across the country. Some of it, though, I think comes as a little bit of a surprise, certainly in terms of severity. Apparently, since the Supreme Court decision, the National Domestic Violence Hotline has seen a 100% increase in calls about reproductive coercion, a form of domestic violence in which an abuser attempts to control their partner's body and reproductive agency. So that can include things like hiding a person's birth control, sabotaging their contraception. Apparently, PBS noted that the hotline is now receiving upwards of 3,000 calls every day, the highest that they've received since they were founded back in 1996. And so, look, a lot of states have opened up, the ability to meddle in this sort of way, in a variety of different ways. But you also have just nationally, like a feeling of empowerment for people who think that if you can get pregnant, your body is not your property. It's mine, or it's your partner's, or whatever. It's simply not up to you. Those decisions will be made by someone else, probably a white male. And that's what they're clearly doing. And we're receiving more and more of these reports. Just insane, Francesca. What do you make of it?
Oh, but this is a country that cares about moms, right? Don't you care about moms, the vessels of the wombs which carry the children that may in fact be cis males, cis straight white males in the future to reign over us all. And so that's why we need to keep producing them. I mean, I go to a really dark place when I hear these stories. And I think a lot of us do, because it is about control over our bodies. It's not just about politicians' control. It is about handing that control, re-handing that control over to your spouse or partner to wield over you. And yes, utilizing violence. That's what these laws do. Effectively, they're turning your spouse or your partner into agents of the state, that is trying to control your body, and they're giving them a green light to do it. So if we're serious about this, man, we all, and I say that as progressives and leftists, we need to get really real about what we're doing to combat this BS in our daily lives, in our communities, in our workplaces and whatnot, because this is unacceptable.
Yeah, 100%. And like after all that the right has accomplished, seeing them take these steps and targeting things, not only birth control, but also, IVF and surrogacy, and just, it's a bunch of really pathetic, scared men just looking for something to meddle in, some new area of control, something that they think will plug the emptiness inside of them that controlling others can never actually cure. And that's what they're doing. And we don't know exactly where it's gonna go. We don't know what they're gonna be running on in a year or in 5 years. But what we do know is they're not simply gonna take the fact that they've been able to outlaw abortion for 50, 75 million people and then just start talking about wages. They're clearly not doing that. They're not talking about, it's not like the next front in, caring about moms or whatever is that, what, we need to take seriously this maternal mortality rate. And we will not rest until it's down to 0. Like, it's definitely not gonna be that. Anyway, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for the first hour of the show. Thank you all. We've got a lot more to come in the aftermath. Francesca will be joining me. We're also gonna be talking with Sawyer Hackett, who started the Lose Cruz PAC, about the prospects of defeating Senator Ted Cruz in this next election. We'll have that and more for you after this.
Thanks for listening to the full episode of The Damage Report. Support our work, listen ad-free, access members-only bonus content, and more by subscribing to Apple Podcasts at apple.co/TYT. I'm your host, John Iadarola. I'll see you soon.